Welcome to the Dose of Good podcast, where we celebrate good people and organizations working to make the world a better place. It can be easy to get caught up in the bad things going on in the world and forget about the good happening all around us each and every day. I'm your host, Erin, and I want to share these stories with you and give them the attention they deserve. I hope this podcast educates and inspires you and maybe even motivates you to share a dose of good in your community. Now let's get into today's episode. On today's episode of the podcast, I speak to Alex Ippolito from the Adult and Teen Challenge in New Hampshire. He is the Associate Director. It's a little bit interesting the way I found out about this organization because one day I was just walking into my local market basket and there was a couple of gentlemen standing outside at a table, and they stopped me to tell me about their program, Adult and Teen Challenge, and how much it helped them. And they were selling some wood cutting boards and other wood items that members of their organization had created. But it really touched me and impacted me hearing about their stories and how much the program helped them. So I said, well, we should have someone on my podcast to talk about your organization. So through the right channels, I got to the right people, and here we are with this episode with Alex. So just to give you a little warning up front, this episode does have talk of substance use and addiction, so just to have you be prepared for that later in the episode. But I hope that you enjoy learning more about this incredible organization and all that they are doing to help not only men in the New Hampshire community, but all areas of teens and adults throughout the country. So now let's get into it and learn more about them. With me today is Alex Ippolito, Associate Director for Adult and Teen Challenge, New Hampshire. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Could you start by telling me about Adult and Teen Challenge and its mission?
Yeah. So Adult and Teen Challenge is a 10-month to a year-long inpatient treatment program, Christian discipleship program. Most people that come in do struggle with substance use disorder of various kinds, or just any life-controlling issue, or loss of direction, hope. So it's a year long, and the mission is for people to, face their fears, their challenges, learn identity, who they are in Christ, who Christ is, who God is, and gain life skills, new habits, new ways of living to then go on and face the world.
Okay. And how did you get involved with the program, and what does your role entail?
Yeah, so I found the program on accident. In 2013, I was a homeless heroin addict, and on Elm Street, they were redoing the Rite Aid at the time, and I actually had climbed into the dumpster to shoot up. I was addicted to heroin at the time, and I just was walking around the streets and found myself in a back alley, and as I was walking up the back alley, there was a van that said, giving hope to families, addicts and their families, but at the time, the program was called Teen Challenge, and so I was like, I missed my shot on this one, but I was high. I wasn't sick or anything, so I knocked on the door just to spark conversation, and I don't know what my mission was or what led me to knock on the door, but on knocking on the door, I was met by a gentleman by the name of Dave Belanger, who was doing admissions at the time, and he told me that was actually a men's facility for 18 and older, and stayed in contact with me for probably 2 weeks. I was at the shelter at times and stuff like that. They wanted a clean urine before coming in, which was never going to be possible, even though I was homeless.
Yeah.
But eventually they took me in, and my life's been different ever since. I was there till 2015. I left for a couple of years, came back in 2018, and I've been here ever since.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great to hear. And so your current role as associate director, what does that kind of look like day to day, I guess?
Overseeing departments, staff, like a supervisor type role. We are understaffed. Most places are. So as also the associate director, I'm also doing admissions for the New Hampshire campus and Maine, and recently the Vermont campus. I also oversee academics. I was the academic coordinator up until maybe a couple weeks ago, where we just had somebody else get trained and certified in it. I also do the resident life supervisor role, which is anything having to do with medical, court, family restoration, counseling, everything in between.
So you're wearing lots of hats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't bring any hats today, but they're all on. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
And so could you tell us a little bit more about your adult men's center?
Most of the programs, at least for New England, New Jersey, we have one in every state at least. There's over 1,100 worldwide. And I know for the New England and New Jersey, and now we just recently started working with the New York campuses, and the name change is coming soon. It is a 10 to 12 month program. Most programs for Adult and Teen Challenge are around that time frame, 10 months to a year, maybe a little bit more. And in that, it's broken up into 4 phases. So you got phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. And the phases represent kind of like what they're going through. So like phase 1 is the adjustment period, getting used to the structure, the rules, getting used to the new systems and the way of living, because having to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning when you're struggling with addiction probably is not a common thing for most people, or anything like that, when people are just stuck and hopeless and not a productive member of society, as they say. Consistency or punctuality or anything like that probably doesn't exist. There is some that do, that just, they're living, they have like the two-sided coin. This is the life they're living, but this is the life that's really what's behind that. But most are lost and desperate and looking for direction. So it takes about that 3-month window to do that. And then phase 2 and phase 3 are, as you progress through the program, you get more responsibilities. You're doing the things that are expected. You're helping others and coming alongside people. And then phase 4, really, you're being used as like a resident leader. It kind of has the makeup, I'm sure. I've never been a part of a sober home, but when I hear people describe sober home procedures and what it looks like as you come in as like a day one person and work your way up, it kind of has that feel where the older person is now helping to keep structure and the overall temperature of the house to make sure that morale is good and things like that. But ending of phase 3 and phase 4, you're also working on transition, which then turns into, are you going to do an apprenticeship? Do you see yourself, or do you feel called to be a part of the ministry? Do you feel called or being led to go back to school? Because we have relationships with colleges that say, hey, you graduate this program and we'll help you get in. We'll pay the admission bill. We'll pay half of tuition. If you're still working there, like there's reimbursement from Adult and Teen Challenge based on GPA. So if you maintain a B average or B plus average while you're going through school, Teen Challenge will even pay you back half of what you're paying. Okay. So really opening doors for great opportunity of people that, sometimes feel like they missed the mark or like life passed them by when they got stuck.
Okay.
Or help them transition back into the real world. If they have a job waiting for them, then we help them to get reestablished in their community and home. If they're looking for work, we have relationships with donors, people that have graduated to open businesses that will give people the opportunity that saw it through, not caring what their background is or what used to be attributed to them.
Okay.
And so what we do in the program is we have academics, we have chapel services 3 times a week, we have guest speakers, we do learning activities, growth activities like group studies on different topics. We go out into the community and we spread awareness, letting everyone know somehow, we've been around for 20 plus years in Manchester, but since the 1960s in the United States, like starting in New York, and somehow we're still like the best kept secret that most people aren't aware of.
Yeah.
So we spread awareness. And then recently we opened a carpenter shop. So for vocational training, we teach people how to use machines, how to work with wood, how to build cutting boards from scratch, and then we go into the community and sell them to help fund, help the ministry and help fund people. Because another thing that we do is we never refuse people that don't have finances. So if people are struggling and want help but have nothing, have lost everything, we'll take them in right as they are.
Okay, that's good.
Which is my story, yeah.
Yeah. I think you covered a lot of the services that you offer. Are there any other services you wanted to mention that you offer? Or
different centers do different things.
Okay.
It really just depends on what they have there available. Like our Adult and Teen Challenge Massachusetts location in Brockton has a licensed barber that will teach people how to cut hair, and then I know they work with them to get into school. We have the kitchen that's available, and we do different vocational training things like knife skills, how to make stock, how to make soups. So it depends on what the places offer. A lot of us do offer some things, but it varies from center to center.
Sure.
And we do try to have, as people are going through the program and bettering themselves and dealing with issues that they've had for 20, 30, however many years, we're also helping them deal with things like health issues, court stuff, and also teaching them skills that they can leave and transition with.
Okay, good to know. I do want to say that your outreach and raising awareness of the organization is working, because that's how I found out about you. I was walking into Market Basket one day, and a couple of the people who've gone through your program were outside selling their cutting boards and that stuff, and that's how I found out about you.
Yeah.
So doing those sorts of things in the community is getting your name out there and is helping and everything. So
yeah, and we actually started myself, and I started trying to get connected more to the community, and then COVID happened and really closed a lot of different things that were happening, like Weed and Seed in Manchester, and all these different organizations that were getting together to try to how can we impact different areas of New Hampshire to address the homeless population, addiction, all sorts of different topics. We were very much a part of that. COVID happened, which changed the world in a weird way for some time. We lost a lot of people, so we had to go back to working internally to make sure that the program was flowing and healthy and everything was operating well there before. But as of recent, I've been able to get back out into the community and meet some great people. There's meetings that happen once a month at the police station with different programs and things like that are trying to help the community as a whole in Manchester. And I just spoke at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and they have other round table meeting. I don't know what they're actually called, but different. Yeah. So been trying to get back out there too to see how else we can get our name out there, how else us as a ministry can help other places where we can show up where we're needed,
Sure. Now, forgive me for my lack of knowledge, so I don't know if you can speak to this, but does your particular location do anything with the teens? And if so, what do you do for them?
So we are able to help people 18 and older.
Okay.
If you go to the Adult and Teen Challenge USA website, there is locations. We had somebody that graduated our program and went and worked for the Boys Center in Oklahoma.
Okay.
As far as I could be wrong here, but I don't know if there's anything in the East Coast, maybe Florida.
Okay.
But it's very challenging to open an adolescent center. There's a lot more that goes into it than just having a men's and women's program. We do have an adolescent girls center in Massachusetts called Bloom.
Okay.
But that's the only one that I'm aware of in New England.
Okay.
But we do have them throughout the states. It's just I know it's something that's on our hearts and we're trying to make available, because we do get a lot of phone calls for people looking for help for that, and I have to refer them to other places that are local in the state, which I've heard good things about and stuff like that. We just don't have one that's attached or has our program name on it.
Okay, thanks. How do people who need help find you?
We are on I know that there is a statewide thing, a site that we pop up. I know it's very hard to find because we fall under like Christian discipleship. We're not classified as a drug and alcohol treatment program, so I know it's not like one of those first things when you type in men's centers that we pop up. We're on 211. There's other resources too, or
so people might refer them to you?
Referral.
Okay.
We get a lot of referrals from churches, from other people that have known us, from people that donate, businesses.
Okay.
Usually when we go to the fundraising efforts like Market Basket and stuff like that, they have like those cork board things where people can put their information. We try to leave stuff behind.
Okay.
I know that we put flyers in like travel stations and anything that allows us to put free resource.
Okay.
But yeah.
And so I'm guessing you don't have like the manpower to be out like on the streets of Manchester, like seeking the people who need help.
We have.
Okay.
We have done a street ministry. Gone and talked with people, hand out sandwiches in the summers. We do that. Manpower. Definitely, it does determine. It is all determined by how many people we have with us at the time and what's going on at the center. But yes, we do try to do that.
Okay, so are you able to work with volunteers, or is it too like sensitive of a nature to have volunteers with your organization?
So we actually have a volunteer committee. So people apply, they get together once a month and find out different ways to do different various things that come up. Yeah.
Okay.
So we've done like we've signed up and with volunteer committee help do like a block, like rock the block type thing. And we have other events that happen, like our golf tournament. We have an annual banquet, things like that.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, because I usually like to ask about like events or fundraisers that you hold. So do those things happen the same time every year?
Yeah.
So people can like look out for it?
We tried to. I think the banquet might fall on a different time frame than it's fallen on as of recent. But you can find all the information on the website. But we try to do the banquet around November.
Okay.
And then the golf tournament happens in August. And every center has different events. Like we have one in Maine, we have one in Vermont, one in New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. What is something that you'd like the public to know about substance use, whether that be like a stigma, misconception, just something that you might want to educate people on?
Well, so for public knowledge, I feel like today there's a lot more awareness than there was. If we had this interview when I first found the program, there'd be a lot of, because back when I started struggling, I came from a family that had an established name in the Lakes region.
Okay.
My father owns Ippolito's Furniture. My mom owned Salta Tire. And back then it was like you wanted nothing to do with people that were struggling. You stayed away from them. But if you had someone struggling in your household, it was like you don't talk about it. You try to deal with it internally. And worst case scenario, you have to cut it off. It's just a weird time back then. But I feel like we have a lot of resources and people don't look at it quite the same. Not saying that people still don't get hurt when their loved one has struggled for years, decades, and had every opportunity. But I guess the stigma is, people aren't like addicts. I know people struggle with addiction, but a lot of people seem to class people as like what they're doing in response to what's happening. No one wakes up one day and says, I'm going to be a drug addict. There's trauma, there's hurts, there's things known and things unknown. And so, I was 31 years old sitting in a jail cell, 23-hour confinement. I got let out for an hour to take a shower and watch TV before I had to go back into my cell. And here I am, 31 years old, been in and out of treatment multiple times, Teen Challenge twice, another long-term program, tried IOP, tried AA, tried everything. And people are like, your family has money, you have every opportunity available. What's wrong with you? And it's I went through hell until I was 9 years old, and I suffered childhood trauma that I didn't know how to deal with and didn't know how to talk about. And I had a person in my life that had the most control of me, had all this control of me, but he had been absent from my life since I was 9 years old. Yeah. And they don't back then, no one talked about stuff like that. So,
Right.
I was hurt, and then hurt turned into resentment. Resentment turned into hatred. And then everything I did with my life was, to either not become that or in spite of. And it's a cancer, and it affected every relationship. So even, 20 years later, when different things go good, when you hear certain things, you're not hearing what that person's saying that's triggering it. It's
Sure.
You're hearing the thoughts of old, the 9-year-old kid that was stuck in that trauma.
Yeah.
And until you can learn how to forgive whatever it is that you went through, forgive the things that you've done. And when you're a mess and when you're struggling with these things and you're trying to cope and numb and self-medicate, you're just making more of a mess.
Right.
So then as all those years go by, you're not dealing with that isolated incident. You're dealing with the isolated incident that led to all these different incidents. And
Sure.
now you're just running from it.
Yeah.
And even when people have years of sobriety and start doing good, like, you still have to face that. Like, you can, I have a hard time believing that even if you've forgiven the people that have hurt you and forgiven what you've done or asked for forgiveness, that the thoughts ever leave you.
Right.
So it just has to get to a point where you've healed from it, where every time you think back of what you've done or what's been done to you, it's not like like a scab that you just reopen the wound and it bleeds and you're a mess again, but gets to a point where it's a scar and it's something that you've learned from and grown from.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. You yourself are a great example of a success story, but are there any other success stories that you might want to share of an example of someone who's gone through the program?
Yeah. So, well, this our stories are intertwined. I wish the most recent, they make a book every so often at Adult and Teen Challenge where they put they compile testimonies of success stories, and I wish I brought one. I'm sorry. I'll make sure I get you one.
Okay.
But my story and one of my best friend's stories, I would say he's my best friend at this time. Our stories are in the book together, but our stories also are intertwined. So when I first stumbled into the program that day that I knocked on the door, and I don't know, I guess I can't really get the guy in trouble anymore because he's not here anymore, the Dave Belanger who took me in.
Oh, sure.
That day when I knocked on the door, initially they took me into the program and let me shower because I was homeless, and the only person that was in the center at the time besides him was a guy named Zach Brewster. And so they gave me clothes, they gave me a backpack, Zach gave me his shoes and a pair of pants, and Dave gave me shirts and a bag. But I ended up coming back and staying this time a month later. And so we ended up becoming really close. We went through the program together. We graduated together. We were on staff together. And then I left in 2015. Again, I was doing well. My now wife had just moved up from Tennessee and decided to stay in New Hampshire with our daughter. And I had relapsed for the second or third time when our daughter was born. When I met my now wife, I was already in treatment for a different time, and we were talking over the phone because I was friends with her brother who was also struggling. So long story, but
Sure.
They came back, and my focus shifted from what I was doing, what I felt I was called to do, and working, and it became all about them. So really anything that interrupted that was kind of making me disgruntled. And then I think there was a part of me that didn't fully deal with all my past traumas. Mm-hmm. I got to a point where I was able to look at it from a different perspective, but just kind of swept under the rug again, not fully healed. So different things at work happened where it wasn't really a boss or an elder or a person I looked up to talking to me. I was any kind of negative connotation. I was just hearing all those feelings and thoughts of old. Mm-hmm. And so I left. And when I said I came back in 2018, I came back from that jail cell, and I did well I say well, but I don't think I was doing well at all. I think I just wasn't using hard drugs up until a year later, and I relapsed and went on a 2-year meth run. And when I ended up in that jail cell, my now wife had a restraining order on me. I was facing 9 different felony charges in 2 different counties. I had other special investigations happening. Pretty much I got to the point where my life's over. And I was sitting in that jail cell, and really the only thing that protected me from being dead was that jail cell. So that was a blessing in itself. But, I cried out to God in that cell and said, if there's anything that you can do with me, or if my life is of any kind of purpose, please show a way. And I kept hearing this this continual like go back to teen challenge in my head. And again, you're in a 23-hour cell, so I'm sure I was driving myself crazy too, but I heard it in all these different voices. And so I remember internally being like, all right, I'll make a call to my mom, and if she answers, I'll go. Because again, I had been locked up and no one was answering my calls. I couldn't call my my now wife. I couldn't call. No one was answering that I did know the numbers for. And so it was almost like this like challenge I made. I was like, well, no one's been answering for 3 days, so who's going to answer now?
Yeah.
And my mom picked up on the first ring.
Yeah.
And then even then I didn't want to. I was almost like trying to convince her to bail me out, and I could tell she almost hung up the phone. So it was almost like this like second chance. I was like, if you can get me back into Teen Challenge, I'll go.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened. And it was about a week later, maybe 3 days later, in between like a half a week and a week later, I got my name buzzed from the cell. And when I came out to the thing that says being released, and it was Zach, who was still working at Teen Challenge, who came in, put up my bail, and took me back. And so just talking about what role he plays in my life. But while he went through the program and he was serving, he never left. He thought he was called to become a counselor. So he started going to school at Manchester Community College. And then somewhere through his time of like pursuing that, he felt that God was calling him to become a surgeon. And so through all this going to school and going to different colleges, end up in Maine, he ended up pursuing a degree to become a surgeon, and he actually graduated school, and he's working up in Philadelphia as a surgeon.
If somebody doesn't think of themselves as religious,
Yeah.
this can still
Yes.
include them and
Yes.
work for them. Right?
So we're not shy about saying like the factor that makes us different is the Jesus factor, but we've never refused anyone that has that either thinks that they're not Christian, but they're some other religion or not religious at all. Mm-hmm. Just the way that our program runs, the structure, the power of prayer, the tools that the Bible provides for like the purpose of being created and what we're created for, and that we're not a mistake. All of us are unique and different, and it's intentional. Just learning how to get people to see themselves in a different light. And yeah, I would say that there's a large number of people that call that choose us because we are an option that we're the only option that they haven't tried for the 100 other times.
Okay.
Don't know who God is. Like they've been the culture still says God, Jesus, but they've never opened a Bible. They don't really know what it means to surrender their life. They don't really know what Jesus did, just besides what they hear in movies and stuff like that. They've never been to church in their life. There's a large number that just come in open to the idea.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. Good to know.
I would say that you have to be open to come in, because if you're just doing it as an option to appease mom, dad, the wife, but you think religion or this God thing, and it's not even about religion, but if you just have that kind of outlook that like this is all trash and however you want to look at it, it's going to be very hard, because it's the whole program structured around it.
Sure, that
we
makes
have
sense.
prayer twice a day, we have chapels, and so all that's required is someone to be open to it.
Okay. That's good to know. Thank you. And is there anything else that you'd like people to know about Adult and Teen Challenge that maybe we haven't talked about?
Yeah, it's a continual growing ministry that and program that it's not the same as the day it came in. We're always looking for ways to be better and to help more. I can't tell you when it changed, but the motto changed to resident first. And every day that the program exists, from the top down, from our CEO, Pascal Manzo, to every person that works under him, and as it branches to all the centers, always try to find different ways to make the program better, to better benefit and suit the resident for not just, freedom from addiction or freedom from, their thought life, but, overall, 100% turnaround. So, laid out counseling, life coaching, any resource that we can partner with to better not just our program, but the people that we serve. It's a continual thing. It's not just a house or a building on a corner that this is what we've done and this is what we will continue to do and this is just what it is. It's not like that.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you. And then I just have a few final questions that I ask everybody who comes on the show. So the first is if there's another nonprofit you'd recommend we have as a guest or just an individual who maybe does great things in their community.
Yeah. So there's another program that's like Adult and Teen Challenge, and that was the one I went through initially before finding this place, and they're called His Mansion. So His Mansion Ministries, and if you called over there, I think the men's supervisor, or he might fulfill a large role of like program supervisor. But it's like Teen Challenge, but men and women are on the same campus.
Okay.
Self-sufficient program. Learn how to farm. Learn how to. I'm not gonna talk for them. I'll let them. But his name is David McHale.
Okay.
And if you called and reached out to him, he's a good dude.
Oh, good.
He has a lot of energy, so he'd be a good guest.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I'll look into that. Thank you.
Yep.
And then the last question is, what does kindness mean to you? And can you share an example of kindness that you've experienced or witnessed?
Yeah. So I'm gonna overthink this, but yeah.
No worries. No. It's not the simple. So take time to think if you need to.
I think kindness encompasses a bunch of words, but just like putting others before yourself, making a point to do something that you wouldn't normally do for somebody in need or anything really. It doesn't even just have to be a person. Like it's not a box that you check for like the thing. It's just a continual outlook, and we're in a day where a lot of people are quick to voice their opinions, but not very quick to put their opinion into action on how to actually change things and make it better. We're super critical people with no resolve or no direction. We just want our opinions to be heard, it feels like at times. And so I think kindness would be like, not just seeing a problem, but, doing something about it. And it can be it doesn't have to be this like global shifting thing. It just, learning to put yourself last and look at others and see the need and step into action.
Yeah.
And so an example of that, I see that all the time in this, and, I'm trying to think outside of ministry, because you come in and you have like the roughest of rough person that they come in broken and selfish and hurt and walls up, and the next thing you know, a new guy comes in that was just like them a month ago, and they're giving them the coat off their back and they're showing them the robes, they're sitting down and praying with but that happened. Like I'm it's like biased because I'm in that all the time, but like just when I don't like my kids, so I work a lot and I got 3 kids at home, and sometimes, you spend all your energy at work and you come at home and you can be a little bit shorter with the kids, but they still see like what you're doing and how you interact with them and the overall, like, how we try to run our house and stuff like that. And then we go somewhere and you see somebody struggling, and my daughters, either one of them, their first reaction when they see someone that's, example, like I don't want to say homeless, I'm not trying to paint this picture, but
Sure.
their first reaction is like they see that someone's struggling and you can see their heart hurting for them, and they just start praying for them in the car.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the example, that if all of us do a little bit more to put others before ourselves, then the example overflows, and then it's kind of like people just start doing stuff from the overflow or second nature.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And like in the example of your children, they're learning that example from you.
Yeah.
So now they're having that empathy for people and everything.
And so if we see people that are hurting, and everyone at some point at least just extends a hand, and I'm not going to define what the extended hand means, but that becomes something that people become used to seeing. It's going to become something that people do without, it's just something that they're like, this is what we should be doing.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, thank you so much for being here today and chatting with me and giving all this great information about Adult and Teen Challenge. And hopefully this will get to someone who needs help and can, use your services, but also maybe people who want to volunteer or donate or anything like that. So
Yeah. And you can share my contact information too, because my phone number is the admission line for admissions. And if people want to get out of New Hampshire, like I said, I can send them to Maine, Vermont. We have campuses all down the East Coast that we can help people.
Okay, good to know. Well, thank you again so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode and learning more about Adult and Teen Challenge. The way that they are helping people is just incredible to me, and I hope that you will check them out, support them if you are able to, and spread awareness that they are out there for people if people are seeking their help or need their help. Thank you so much for listening and for your support of this podcast. It means so much to me. If you aren't already, please subscribe on YouTube, follow on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok so you have all the latest news on the podcast. Share with a friend so that they can have a dose of good in their day. And remember to be kind and not judge others, and remember that everybody's going through something, and hopefully we can all work together to make the world a better place. I'll talk to you soon.